We're live.
Hey, everybody.
So, I'll scoot a little closer. Sorry. David. David's done.
Yep.
Um, we are happy to be here 40 minutes after attempting to start this stream. We really have no idea what is happening. As I mentioned, internet is working for everything except our live stream. And so then we decided we're going to do it from a different location on our laptops, which required the download of OBS all over again because it turns out this computer didn't have OBS yet. And it required setting up everything. Whew. We made a whole new place to stream from. New wall, new construction, new studio. It's all brand new. So, yay. Oh, they are nice guitars. Yes, they're David's.
Yeah.
So it's been a ride. And I feel exhausted from the ride, and I think David is demoralized.
This has been a really crappy day that's following on a pretty crappy year so far. So, yeah.
How do you really feel?
I hate everything.
It hasn't been a crappy year. We've done a lot of good things.
Everything having to do with conlanging has been pretty crappy this year.
We have started. Wait, first of all, conlang year. Second of all,
That's you, not me.
Second of all, the Beaver language is coming together. Third of all, Halo is premiering tonight, and David put together a very, very cool thing on Instagram that I reshared to my story. That was very exciting.
No, absolutely no astrology, zodiac nonsense. Not even as a joke. Not right now. I'm not in the mood. All right, we got to figure out the poll and figure it out quickly.
I already did the results.
You did?
I did. I told you I would take care of it, and I did.
I just didn't think there was time.
In the 40 minutes while I was waiting for...
Well, we were both doing stuff, trying to...
Anyway,
But,
I did it. I did it.
I also want to mention, because of the way that we're streaming at the moment, the audio is coming off of my laptop, which of course I also use to type. What I'm afraid of is that it's going to be really excessively loud when I type. I can, if we have to do this in future, I can get external keyboard and use that to try to reduce a little bit. But anyway, I apologize for today's stream.
I don't think anything's going to be louder than you on the mouse in there. Do you remember that one time we were rewatching a video and you're like, what's that noise? And I'm like, that's you on the mouse.
Oh, yeah.
So I think our viewers are used to very loud computer noises. You also sometimes attack that external keyboard with vigor.
I know. Anyway, but also we were just set up for the first time here, so if we're not loud enough or we're too loud, our voices, just let us know. We can adjust that pretty easily, I think. But so the poll this week was, we wanted to move ahead with grammar, but realized that we didn't have a stress pattern for our stuff. So we came up with 4 possibilities. And all of the possibilities have to do, there's a lot of phonological, jargon in here. Mm-hmm. And I know that often, conlangers are well familiar with segmental phonology. Tone and stress are more of an autosegmental thing, and a lot of this terminology comes directly from poetics. But what I hoped was, to show you, here are some possible forms, and basically which stresses do you like here. And so I'll just go ahead and say that neither of the first 2 won.
I wouldn't. First of all, how about you start with B? Because I think A1 did better than you think it did.
Really? Oh.
But B1, if you want to start there, that's a place to start, because talk about 0 votes.
Wow, really?
There, okay, so here's the situation. We had 4 options. This option that David's looking at right now on the screen got 0 votes. 2 of the other 3 options tied for second place, only 2 votes off of the winner. And so everything else was very close.
Huh. All right. So this first one, we're talking about moraic. We're talking about footing, basically, and we're talking about whether we're going to do moraic. No, wait. We only did moraic footing, didn't we? Okay, so basically the first one is whether we do the left edge or the right edge. Mm-hmm. And then the next one is an added sound change.
Yeah.
And so basically it's like if you start footing moraically from the right edge, right, you're going to take the first heavy syllable or 2 light syllables, put it into a foot, and then assign stress to the rightmost element, assuming that all things are equal. And so the result of that, anything that doesn't fit is not footed. Mm-hmm. So like, for example, with A1, if you start footing from the right edge and you have this form, takala, or basically takala, and then we say that the a becomes a long vowel, suddenly that becomes long. So you start footing from the right edge, you get a short syllable, monomoraic, and so then you look to the next one, but you can't foot it because it'd be too big. So in other words, these are bimoraic feet maximally. So you skip it. And so then you just move on, and then you get, takala, right? Wait, no. No, I think you wait, hold on. What did I say?
I was like, I
count 2 syllables and put them into a foot. If there's a syllable left over, that syllable would be turned into its own foot if and only if it's heavy. Got it. Okay. No. All right.
Yeah. Jonathan, if it don't fit, don't foot it.
Yes. Okay. Okay. But if you start from the right edge, then it's got to be footed.
Yeah.
Basically, everything on the right has to be footed. And so, like, for takala, it's basically kala, right? So you start with that foot. You want to assign it on the rightmost syllable. However, you can't if there's a mismatch in heaviness, and the heaviness is elsewhere. In this case, it's on the first one, and so you get takala. Just like that, no secondary stress, because only heavy things get stress at all. Unless the only things available are light. Now let's look at that same form. It comes out the same way if you start footing from the left edge, doesn't it? What's one that's different?
For that one, you would need a 4 syllable, I think, to see the difference, like patakala. Is that? Patakala. No, because that one's the long one, so even that. Patakala. The very last one, is that? No.
You know what?
Listen,
let's
this one didn't
ignore
get
that
any
one.
votes.
Let's ignore that one. All right, here's the second one. We added this potential sound change where basically we killed long vowels if they were not stressed. But stress means secondary or primary. So this is where, let me see, takala, is that one that's gonna... No, that one's the same. This is one. Okay, so the big difference here, all right. We have an initial form that's ta'akala, or I'm sorry, ta'akala, no stress. In this first one, we get ta'akala. Mm-hmm. If it's long on both ends, so, ta'akala, all right? And so then we get, long vowel secondary stress, long vowel primary stress at the end. We can also get ta'akala. So that is, it starts with a long vowel, but if we're footing from the right edge, it doesn't matter that that's long. The first place we look for primary stress is the right. And so the right foot is kala, both short, they're equal, put stress on the right. And so then you get this long secondarily stressed vowel, ta kala. And so that's kind of interesting, ta kala, right? Versus ta kala.
It's so
yeah,
a lot of this comes down to whether, when it came to it, would you rather have the initial syllable stressed, i.e. starting from the left edge, or the final syllable whenever, things worked out. And that would mean starting from the right edge.
Yeah.
And so it's like whether stress got pulled to the end or pulled to the beginning of a word. That was really option A versus option B. And then the 1 and 2 options within the A and B was whether or not we actually reduced long vowels that weren't in stressed syllables. And so in a language like Finnish, you get all these long vowels that aren't stressed. And so it's like you can have stress on a short vowel and then have like 3 long vowels after it. And it's just like, that's just how it is. If we reduce those, though, here, you would only ever see long vowels in stressed positions, whether it's secondary or primary stress. And other than that, you're never going to get those long vowels.
I've got the pairs. So like, for example, in Finnish, stress is always on the first syllable. And so handsome is komea. And then in the partitive, it's komea. And so what that means is that in unstressed position, you have a distinction between a and a, right? With A2, you would have in stressed position a difference between takala and takala, all right? Over here, we say, nah, we don't like that. And so it would be takala versus takala. Right? So it's like we don't want to have to distinguish between that, la and la at the stressed position with all that other stuff going on. And so, yeah, more stress on the right edge or more stress in kind of surprising anti-penultimate or penultimate position. That was it.
And so,
just as Jesse said.
So option B1, where we just did footing from the left edge, no vowel reduction, that was the one that got 0 votes. But Jonathan pointed out that at one point it did have 1 vote very briefly, so I'm assuming they voted for it and then changed their mind.
Yep.
Perhaps after seeing that they were the only one who voted for it. And so then we did come very close. Like, it was all very close. The winning option got 12 votes. The other 2 options each got 10 votes.
Wow, really?
Yeah, that's why I said when you said like the A1 did not win, but it was close. It was tied at 10 for like second place.
That is
wild. So our patrons did leaned into the long vowel reduction. So that's where 2/3 of the votes went was with the long vowel reduction. And they did have a preference for right edge. And so A2 is our winner with 12 votes. And that's also good because the Moraic footing right edge A1 also had like all the votes in the first half. And so really there was, out of the votes, 2/3 of them went to the right edge footing. And so there was a preference to see, stress shifted toward the end of the word. Which I'm excited about because we have not done a lot of final stress in our languages. And so even though we'll end up seeing, penultimate syllables and other things stressed, we will get a lot more final stress in this language, which is kind of cool.
Okay, so then with that decision made, we'll never see primary stress on anything but one of the last 2 syllables. That does make it a little bit easier. And it's really, really simple. Basically, if stress is always going to be final unless the penultimate is heavy and the ultimate is light. Now, the only thing that's going to be a little tricky is we need to pay careful attention to where the secondary stresses are so that we can reduce the long vowels that are in those syllables. Okay, good. Ganz gut. Oh, dann now. How do you say now in German? I can't remember.
Oh my God.
Is it nüt?
That's Finnish. Which is so funny because I almost said nüt, like just off the top of my head. And I'm like, that's totally Finnish.
Jetzt.
Not...
Jetzt.
Yeah, jetzt is indeed the word.
Yeah.
But it's just so funny that that's exactly where my brain went. I was just like, nüt.
I almost thought when I saw that nüt that it was borrowed from German for some reason. All right, well, I've got Lexergy open or whatever. Let's do some Langen. It's going to take a second for me to see what's visible for you. Great. Just wonderful.
David,
Yeah.
it is wonderful. Look how good the lighting is. Like, I look much better in this lighting than I look in that lighting. People are saying we sound much better in this location and with this computer. They're saying like the sound is actually really, really good for this stream.
You have a level.
So that's exciting.
You have a level of discernment when it comes to your own appearance that nobody else has.
Okay, I look better in this lighting.
No, you don't. You look great in every lighting. It's ridiculous.
You look better in this lighting.
Like, I don't know. What do you like? Do you want me to reduce the size of chat and me and Jesse? Like, I don't know why it takes up so much space.
I feel like that because we were trying to get them the same size with no gap, it ended up taking up like half the screen.
That's a little silly. We can have a little toothy gap. In fact, I have an idea.
Miles is saying these colors are really great for us as well.
Thanks.
David designed the wall behind us, and then his parents got us the tiles. It's like the special tile for walls, and it's supposed to be good for like sound. So maybe it sounds good too. I don't know.
I don't think that's gonna work because then I don't think you'll be able to see all of chat.
I wish you could like. If you reduce this window, does it have any effect on that one? Like to make it skinnier? Oh, you can only make it so skinny, huh?
Wow, really? That's kind of funny.
That is kind of funny.
And like that was such a little bit, there's no way to see if that actually had an effect. Whatever. Let's just do that.
There we go. I think that got everything because it says but he says he'll do something. Okay. Oh, I think it said he says hi. Okay, so I think that got everything on there.
Yeah, now we can see Grandma.
Grandma!
Good Lord.
Well, you can scooch it over just a tiny bit. Just scooch it. A tiny bit. See, look, there's a little bit of the frame here that you don't need in your window.
Like, this is ridiculous. Like, there's so much over there. Or maybe, I don't know.
Just wait. Just wait. You're scrolling. I'm waiting for it to catch up. Okay, we have the whole line on there. A little bit cut off, respective, and then Lee is cut off. So if you just scooch it a tiny bit more.
Here, I'm gonna do show ruler, show layout. And then now, there. You're right. I'm sorry I'm complaining. I just hate everything and everyone. Especially you lot who watch us.
You hate everyone?
Not you. I don't hate everyone. I'm just very unhappy. I'm sorry.
Somebody's a little cranky today.
All right. Let's write in our stress rule is actually very simple. So that's nice because we have a stress rule and sound change and a new sound change. I really wish I could make this smaller. Hello, Carl.
Also, thank you, Jake. And Otter, yes. David is a bundle of sunshine every day.
Yeah, I don't know if you noticed my little plug there, but
I noticed.
Halo with a Sangheili language created by Carl and I. Is having a season 2 premiere tonight on the old Paramount Plus.
Woohoo!
So everybody watch it or something. I'm kidding. It'll be really nice. I wrote up a little introduction to the language, and I put it on Instagram and Tumblr, so you can take a look. It's I gotta tell you, this language is honestly, the idea that we had for Tapahla but never really finished until like after the season was well done, where we have these prefixal modifiers that create new verbs. That was inspired directly by Sangheili, and that element of Sangheili was created 100% by Carl. I didn't actually get 100% what he meant at first. And then when he wrote up the system and showed me how it worked, I was like, aha. And that's really, I think, the key feature of Sangheli. I mean, its grammar is fine, but it's like nothing that nobody's seen before. But the series of instrumental prefixes that are on the language, that really makes the language. I think it really makes it something special. So should have just done a post just on that. Hopefully you can kind of get the flavor of the bird by seeing it. Anyway.
I would just be like, hey, make another post, David. But I know how many hours you put into the post that went up today. So yeah. I think you're good.
Oh, I just love comments that I have no interest in TV, but it's like, thanks. Thank you, McCain NL. Marvelous Twitch streamer. I will be sure to catch your Twitch stream, even though I have no interest in Twitch.
You are really just on the ball with rudeness today.
Ugh. Done with it. I'm done with people. It wasn't even just the stream. There was something that really, really ticked me off today, and it has nothing to do with anybody here. I'm very sorry. I love you all.
Oh, okay. I think I know what you're talking about. But, Mateus, much love to you and all that you do, and don't pay attention to David and his...
I would say I'll be better next week, but...
We won't be here next week.
We're not going to be here next week. And we should have announced that earlier.
We should have, especially before David was this rude and made you all turn off your stream. And so now that everybody is probably gone, we're going to make an announcement. We're not going to be able to stream next week because... So... As you all may know, David and I got married at the end of October, and we did so in what can really only be called an elopement. We ran off and just got married with the two of us, and then a photographer, and which was a friend who has a camera and is very good at it, and then someone to be our officiant, another friend who happens to be ordained through, New Life Church or New Hope,
something like that,
Universal Grammar Church, I don't know. So happens to be ordained, and so we did that. Well, our families were both kind of wait, there's no wedding, and so we decided we're gonna throw this reception instead of a wedding, and so it's a reception that's gonna be in the end of next week. And all of our family, and by our family, I mean mine, because mine is the one that has to travel, is coming out next week. And so we're going to have a very full house on Thursday. And we were just like, there's no way we're going to be able to stream, because we're going to be doing airport runs, picking people up, and we're going to be having people stay here, and we may actually have every couch occupied. So we'll see how it goes. But anyway. So next week we have to cancel, but we'll be back at it the week after. We apologize in advance, and we really wish that this stream had gone much more smoothly and much more sunshinely. Yeah. So that way we could have, had a little break on a good note. So that means we have to do some really awesome work at the end of the stream, so that way David's in a better mood, so you all remember why you watch us. Oh, Arias. Perfect. See, we did it for Arias. We canceled.
I have two things. The first one, the first one is apparently a week from today. Today is Lavuna's second birthday. So what should happen is not that we should be streaming, but Jonathan should be streaming. And that stream should consist of nothing but Lavuna. Yes. Lavuna enjoying her favorite treats, perhaps wearing a little hat, being petted, and then eventually falling asleep. I would watch that. Anyway, so that's number one. Number two has to do with a form that I didn't include here. And so I have a question. If we had, so we have patakala, right? Okay, no, I do see. No, you know what? This does answer it. Okay. Secondary.
And Tethys, I'm sure it's a church somewhere.
Unless, okay, secondary stresses are assigned to every other syllable from the main stress, unless
Excuse me.
unless the foot would ordinarily assign stress elsewhere.
Oh, Jake, that's one way of putting it.
With a nonce form, but stresses would be nope, but
Patacala.
so it's not patacala, it's patacala.
Oh my. Oh
Yeah.
my. Oh, scroll down, David. What you just typed is not on the screen.
Oh, that's weird. I don't understand. That's shouldn't it be getting the whole screen?
You would think, but there we have it.
Oh my. Oh, look how big it is. Give me just a minute.
Oh my gosh, I bet this is going to change everything, David.
Yeah, I think so. And so I'm really sorry. Again, like you may recall that my laptop was stolen last year, and
Right before we got married.
yeah, and we have not.
Oh, now you can move it back over and make it bigger, David.
Yeah,
You can make it bigger.
I think I will. Anyway, we've never streamed from it since then. Yeah, that's nice. Yeah?
Yeah.
It still doesn't get everything, so I will have to be cognizant of that. And like, you know.
Waiting to show when it scrolls. Okay, so it's really just missing the very bottom 2 lines.
No, it doesn't get this either.
Oh, 3 lines. Okay.
1, 2, 3, 4 lines. Okay. But that's all right. We'll keep that in mind. Thank you for letting us know. Yeah, that's the other thing. You know, we should do another series of tests because there's like increased capabilities to do things like use alternate cameras.
Yeah.
Like using iPhone cameras
So one thing,
at the same time.
and now that this is, fingers crossed this is working so far. In the past, this hasn't worked on our laptop, if you have recalled, which is why we've never actually done the pop-out chat when using our laptops. But so far this is working, so fingers crossed it continues to work. But I think there are a lot of features that are new to OBS that my iMac could not handle because it was too old. Therefore, like, I'm curious to know what we can do here, including the easy switch between like, you know, our phone being used as a camera, or being able to get views,
Like,
you know, elsewhere. So like we could do screen mirroring. We could do like, I could get on my iPad and draw something and screen mirror it. You know, like we could do stuff.
this is something that I would really like. Do you know how, like, with Zoom, it automatically changes depending on who's talking, or you can make it so that it automatically changes depending on who's talking. Wouldn't it be cool if, like, let's say we each had our own laptops, we were each on the stream, we didn't have to be like trying to like doing this to get in there, but basically like every time I said something, suddenly it just showed my camera, and whenever you said something, it automatically switched and took yours. Like, wouldn't that be cool?
Well, sure, but I mean, also,
I have no idea if that's possible.
isn't that why Jake and Miles? Does yours do that automatically with Google?
Oh yeah, they
Meetup
use
or-
they use yeah, something else.
Google Meet, yeah. And so like things do that, just not OBS, unless OBS has gotten better.
Yeah.
But like other tools do that, and yeah.
We need some time and we need to like do some tests you know.
Now, the problem, yeah, we need tests because part of the problem is
Yeah.
that, for instance, when Jake and Miles stream, they're in two very different locations. We
Right.
would be sitting beside each other, and what we wouldn't want was if our streams got discontinuous at all, our voice would show up delayed on the other camera. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So we would have to have microphone only from one input, and if another camera got off, then the lips would be off movement. Like if you recall, sometimes that happened when I was in Texas streaming. My mouth would be off from what the sound was.
Yes, Miles and Jake absolutely have a stream, and it is called Let's Do or Have. It's Let's Have.
Let's have a booba.
Let's have a booba. And I'm going to type it in chat.
Because it's LHAB. It's not LDAB, it's LHAB.
There it is. Oh, and Karis dropped a link.
Yes.
And it's a lot of fun. It's essentially kind of like Miles being funny in a very, very Miles way, which is kind of like
Miles is actually a ray of sunshine.
Like, yeah,
unlike you.
Like very, very like bubbly and fun. And then Jake is funny in a really, really dry and, dare I say, English way. And the combination is just delightful. Anyway.
Nice.
By the way, we're going to an event in the Netherlands this
March.
And one of the key coordinators is named Kiki, spelled just like that.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. Like this is kind of like, it doesn't really matter at this point, but I'm just wondering where to put in the long vowel shortening.
I feel like that could go near the end, if not the very end.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, I may sneeze. Bless me.
There she goes.
Okay. Sorry, I did warn everyone first, though. Whew. Okay.
Shoot, long vowel shortening. You know the most embarrassing thing that I've ever done on camera, I think by a wide mile, was there was two videos I did for Vanity Fair. One, I was commenting on other people, like speaking Dothraki or whatever. But the other one was just a general introduction to conlanging. And for whatever reason, I was talking about noun classes and how that could be fun. And I gave examples of noun classes. And one of the examples I said was big versus large. I meant big versus small.
I like big versus large, though.
Yeah, and
it captures a nuance.
And they pulled it out too, and put a graphic behind it, like big and large here, as if that was an important thing. I mean, obviously they didn't know what I was talking about, so they didn't realize I had made such a stupid mistake. But they just amplified it and made it worse. It's just hilarious. Yeah, Jesse's seen it. This Jesse.
It's a classic moment.
That would be cool, though. You know what? We should do a LangTime special stream where we do one of those languages, and we have noun classes, and the noun classes are big versus large versus huge versus humongous versus, gigantic. Yeah.
And then, of course, ginormous is the biggest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it doesn't matter with respect. It needs to be after 7, obviously, but it doesn't matter with anything else. I think it should be a late sound change, so I'm just going to put it last for the moment. And this is long vowel lengthening, aka shortening. All right.
We'll get those triple length vowels in there that then get reduced to single length vowels, because obviously in this culture 3 is not a good number, it's taboo. And so when a vowel becomes triple length, it must reduce to a singleton. Mm-hmm. That's what happens.
Oh, that's the old Metroid rule, where it's if you're at 256 and then go up 1, it goes down to 0.
Oh, Jonathan, though, says that they're pretty sure you actually did say shortening.
Oh, how about that?
And so maybe you did get it right. I did not hear you say long vowel lengthening, but then it became a thing in chat. So I just assumed that my brain just kind of replaced what I thought I heard. I'm going to actually, while you're typing, I'm going to run and go get Kopiko from the other room because we're going to celebrate once you finish. We may need a whole jar. We need to celebrate a whole lot today.
For the purposes of this sound change, secondary stress. Here, let's do secondarily stressed syllables count as stressed. Okay. And that hopefully will do it for our sound changes. We can be done, and then that can be finalized on Lexergy.
I brought the whole jar.
Oh, that's so nice of you.
You need all the Kopiko. Here you go. Just throw it in the air and dance in it. Kopiko rain.
We are in Nijmegen starting on March 11th is, I believe, when we travel, so we'll probably be actually available on the 12th. I'm guessing, is that right?
I forget. I need to look at the calendar again.
Pretty sure the 12th or the 15th.
But that sounds right-ish. I just know yeah, that sounds right-ish. But I will double check. But let's celebrate this, and then I can double check those dates.
Cheers, partner.
Cheers.
All right.
Kopiko when David needs a smile. You're right, Karis. David's putting the cope into Kopiko.
Kopiko. When everything is wrong and you're a little behind in Sealy.
You getting happier now?
Well, all right. Now, you know, if you time that just so, maybe, because I know that we haven't had a lot of success with ordinary streams and hotel Wi-Fi. However, if you're around at a time nearish our usual stream, maybe we can do kind of a special stream and just have you on and do a really in-depth interview with you about, you know, your childhood, what led you to Twitch, and so on.
We're going to Nijmegen the 14th through the 17th.
Oh, I don't think that's right.
That's not right?
I think that's old. Because, of course, that was, we're now flying into France, right? And we're taking a train.
Right, which this says arriving in Paris. Paris to Amsterdam.
We're going from Paris to Amsterdam?
And we're staying in Amsterdam until Thursday the 14th.
We are.
That's the last thing I have about this trip.
Oh, boy.
Anyway, we'll find out what we're doing. It's fine. No. Okay, here we go. I can check in this one too.
Oh, well, congratulations, Jake. I don't understand what's at stake there in terms of, like, you know, because, like, for example, the bar exam here in the United States, that's a test where it's like they don't really give you a score, or I think they only give you a score if you fail. If you pass, it's just pass. And it doesn't matter if you got 100% or whatever the cutoff was that year, like one past that, then you just passed.
Oh, yes. Congratulations, Jake. Sorry, I'm a little behind. I was trying to check the email stuff. But Mateus, that would be amazing if you could be there. And
yeah, anybody else too. Like, we'll just be, especially while we're in the Netherlands, we're going to be doing a lot more hanging out than we will be when we're in France. and in a location that's a bit more central. So if anybody in that region, kind of northwestern Europe, wants to come and hang out, we'll do it. We'll do it proper. It won't be a real CopyCon. It'll be a Copinon.
It's like a mini something. Comini con?
A Copacino.
A Copacino. Oh, that's delightful. It is so bizarre to me, by the way, how different rating systems work when it's still mostly out of 100 across the board, and yet like how one country treats one set of numbers versus another set. Why can't we all in academia get on the same wavelength? Like, this is so interesting to me.
Dang. Oh, Jake, you're going to Mumbai. Listen, if you've never been to India, anytime that you get a fruit or vegetable, make sure that it's thoroughly washed before you eat it.
I think the bigger lesson is if it feels slimy to the touch, don't eat it.
Your cucumbers are so good, though.
Unless they're bad, and then they will make you so sick.
Yeah. Oh, they were really good, though. All right, so let's try to, now that we've got that stress issue taken care of, and we also know that stress is going to be a thing that only occurs on one of the last two syllables. Oh. We have something potentially interesting.
So you got very excited about that.
Let me see if I've got this right. We're footing from the right edge. That was the winner, right? Footing from the right edge? Yeah. All right. Let's just say that we had these two forms. One of them has some sort of suffix on it. This will be, I'm just going to use macrons for right now. Patakala, right? Because that's secondary and then final. But with this one, it's going to be, hold on.
While he's doing that, I just want to point out that their slogan here is your pocket coffee, anytime, anywhere. That is the official slogan, I guess.
It's funny because there's another slogan on here. No, there's your coffee anytime, anywhere, but on the back, no, that's, real coffee extract from the finest Indonesian volcanic coffee beans?
I mean,
no wonder they taste so wonderful.
From a volcano. But this is not as interesting, real coffee anytime, anywhere, versus your pocket coffee anytime, anywhere. I mean, that's just amazing.
Okay, this one is fine. What's the form that we need here? Let's do this. So this one, I'm gonna do.
I really love this language that we're building, whereby the examples, it's like there's such a minimal phonology here.
Okay.
And I'm just imagining this language that's all P, T, K, and L, and only ah vowels.
Let's see here. Okay. Just make sure. Okay. And then.
Patakala has so much more range than Kanan even did, Miles. I mean, we've got Patakala. Patakala.
All right. Well,
Patakala.
I actually don't know. Maybe I should start with a simpler form here.
Are you trying to show some fun variation if we start adding syllables to the end?
Yeah, this is going to come out as like that. Whereas this one...
Oh, nice, Mateus. I think it's always fun. I think all too often, especially like when I work with students, they want to go big on the starting phonologies of languages. And I think it's so exciting to actually start quite small and either keep it small, because I think that could be very interesting in and of itself, but to see how you can grow it just through phonological, sound changes and stuff, I think it can be a lot of fun.
So this is an example. Assuming you have a root with two long vowels, the first long vowel will drop out if it's just one foot. So kala becomes kala. However, that long vowel will be reintroduced if you add a suffix, because you have, kalaka, right? Mm-hmm. And suddenly that first syllable gets footed because it's heavy. And so the long vowel is preserved. So things like that can happen. Anyway, just wanted to note that.
I like that.
All right. So I think the first thing we need to do, we need to decide on that modifier noun order.
And we had not... No, we had not typed anything in there yet. Okay. Oh, no. Didn't you type a whole thing on stress?
Yep. But not there. Evidently, I put it in the wrong spot. Sorry about that. There it is.
Should I move it?
Please do. I just, I take no responsibility for my actions.
Okay, here we go. Finding the stress section again. Okay, and then I'm going to take out tone, so we're not having any tone, right? Okay. All right, so we had option A and B going.
I just don't feel like doing classifiers anymore. Let's just say I hate classifiers. I hate them so much. And when I'm in a low mood, I don't like to do things I hate. Very sorry.
Okay. I mean, we don't need to do classifiers. I know this is, but even taking that out, what we have below here is we have ordering distinctions that we should be making, including if we do the, singulative marker.
Doing a singulative?
That was one option.
Uh-huh. Oh, okay.
Like, we
don't
have to do it.
No, that makes a lot of sense because the stick with the beavers, yeah.
We could also then have like a specific plural marker where it's like common could be sort of mass reading or whatever is sort of, typical for a noun. And then if you specifically want it to be singular or plural, you have to mark it.
Oh, speaking of which, this is why we've got stick going on there. I got it. Instead of classifiers, we have articles.
We could do that. We could even, if you wanted to retain the spirit, we could have a series of different articles that get used differently. Or we could just have, articles.
Okay. By the way, since, I'm not doing much else, useful, and at very least promote others. And so I want to remind everybody that George Corley, the one behind the Conlangery podcast, has a YouTube series called, I always want to say Runes and Tongues, but I think it's Tongues and Runes. Really sorry. It probably makes sense for it to be Tongues and Runes because it's language first, writing system second. Tongues and Runes, which streams every Friday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific. You can translate that to your time. And George is making languages for D&D. How do they say it? Maybe they say races, but like species. He started off with dragons, and he's he's at the writing system stage for dragons. So if you're looking for a little live stream conlang action a day after LangTime, it's there for you.
All right. So, what are you feeling either of these directions, or would you like? I can do a little poll just to see what people are thinking. Not a binding poll, but a "What are you thinking" poll. Because really, we're looking here. We interested in potentially doing. I guess we would break it down by like head initial or head final. Although it looks like for SVO and SOV, the stick grass was the same and the stick was the singulative.
Yeah, no, happy with that. I was thinking, like, what if, there's the common one, right? And with nothing, it's indefinite, but with some sort of article, it's definite, and then with stick, there's no distinction. Or maybe, I don't know. I was thinking what might lend definiteness to this, and it's whether it's been mentioned before. So, like, we could take some verb for say and turn that into an article.
Kind of like saying the aforementioned.
Yeah. The thing that I'm having a little trouble with is the stick, because I believe the stick was going to be the head, right?
It appears that it is a little bit movie-y, because here if stick follows grass but it's SVO, then it seems like grass is the head. Like we're saying grass, a stick of it. Versus here, we have a stick, and then, it's a grass one. But here also we're saying that this order could either be SVO or SOV. So we haven't really decided whether the stick was going to be the head or a modifier. It looks like we kind of went both directions. I wish I had taken notes on this discussion last week.
I mean, it's not as if we wanted to make any decisions at that point.
No, we were just writing what we would be happy with.
Mm-hmm. What I was imagining was that essentially it's like if there's any morphology that's going to happen, it happens on the thing that's on the right. And so everything else just gets left alone. So it's like if grass is the only thing there, morphology happens to it. If it's tall grass, morphology happens to tall. If it's stick of grass, morphology happens to stick, and so on. A little bit like Arabic where, you know, Beta Walad is the it's the boy's house, and the only way you know this is just because the is on the last thing, and so it's like there's nothing on the first things until you get to the last thing, and then there's a the on it, and it's like, okay, this was a string of possessives. There used to be case stuff happening there in Arabic, but it's gone. That was kind of what I was thinking.
So when you say morphology, do you mean the potential like articles that you were talking about? Would they be affixes or?
No, it would be independent words.
So what morphology would be happening on tall or stick?
Case.
So at this point, you're looking at a more analytic approach where stick is a singulative but not attached?
To the extent that German is analytic.
I'm not really following, so I'm just gonna say I would love to see your ideas fleshed out here in the document.
All right. So we can both agree that German is not really analytic, right? That is, they're individual words, but the words are fusional. That's why you have different articles that are in different cases, and right?
Okay.
Same thing. The only difference is that, well, maybe it would be a little bit similar because, like, you see very minimal changes on nouns in German. You could do the same thing here.
I don't know, Miles. We haven't really made it yet to the actual modifiers, and what we had here as tall was just meant to be like we were trying to see what order we would put things in if we did have classifiers and modifiers, and so it was more like we just put it in there, but we never really talked about it other than having the example there. But yeah, it's...
German surprises you, especially when it comes to the actual noun changes. You look at them and be like, if you have all of your case and gender information and number information on the article, why do you even have noun changes? And yet they do. And so that's how you get things like Vater versus Vatern with an N on the end. And it's like, Der Vater and den Vatern, I believe. Or is it die Vatern?
Because plurals are D.
Right. Oh yeah, Germans just glutted with den and dame. Einen and einem, it's an absolute Einfield.
It's in Einfield. I like it.
Yeah, Yiddish was really quite
and that's
sensible.
what I thought. It's actually Vater. It's not Vaten.
Do they have Faytown?
All
right, hang on.
So I was Vater in the plural. I had learned was Vater with an umlauted A.
Here we go. Fates, and there's Faytown. Yep.
Yeah, but only in the dative
right.
and the genitive, and that's
yep.
not plural as like just
so
plural,
there's
though. So D would be die fete, but yeah, then it would be den because the article has to match the dative.
That's what I said.
Yeah, but like you don't just say like the father's
Anyway.
is den feten. You would have to like it has to be in the dative for that
Right.
to work.
So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different definite articles which tell you things like gender, number, and case. But then some, not all nouns, but some also have different forms. Fata has 1, 2, 3, 4 different forms. And so it's like, even though all this information is on the article, some of it also goes on the noun for like literally no reason. Other words don't, like new words. So like bont, for example, I believe. Well, shut my mouth.
I was gonna say
Look at all
a
this.
lot of things get marked, I think.
Oh my God.
More than what you seem to be thinking.
This is disgusting. I just don't like this. This is just ridiculous. What's something that's been borrowed more recently? How about sushi? That is bound to not have any extra forms. Yeah, so sushi doesn't have any extra forms. There's just this marginal extra form of, with the S on the end, sushis, that potentially could also be used in the genitive singular.
Matthias, I quite enjoy it too.
But of course, the genitive is kind of getting phased out of German, just like it was already in Yiddish. So that's cool, because it's not doing much anymore, let's be honest. Anyway, all right, back to this thing. So I kind of thought it would be cool, like, as I was thinking about it, but like, stick seems like a different thing entirely than using something like say to make a definite article, which is fine.
Stick was not like set in stone. It was
Oh.
let's come up with an example.
Oh no, but I love it.
Oh, okay.
No, I love stick. I think that we need to stick with it, personally.
Singulative. In Tariana. Meinaru Hanuma. One woman, big. Okay.
Oh, Arias, don't you be a stick in the mud. It's kind of funny, like, because you didn't pop it out, it can be smaller. Maybe I shouldn't pop mine out so it's smaller.
Yeah, it's so bizarre that it didn't let you make that window any smaller.
Specific.
Specific. That's amazing.
No, I love stick, and I think that should be where we start.
Okay. With stick?
Yeah, I really, really like it. And I like the idea that it takes something that could be mass or count and it individuates it and makes it count. And I think that could be used as number and also derivationally.
Great quote out of context.
Now it's just a matter of saying, if we're going to go with that, then what happens for, I really wish I wouldn't push like that. What happens for, adjectives, and then how are we going to have this interact with, or do we want to entertain the idea of having some sort of a definite, and is it going to be something that's added on to the stick? Could be added on to the stick so that stick plus definite is a thing. I kind of liked the more minimalistic approach that definiteness didn't matter when you're using the stick. But in order for that to make sense, then the definite article has to be a noun, just like stick, with the same relationship. Otherwise, there's no reason why they couldn't co-occur.
So the distinction, well, I mean, I guess we have to make choices before we can really move forward with getting fine tuning on whether or not we'll have definite for all the different stages. But like, effectively, are you essentially thinking it could end up being something like German, where except the noun doesn't take different shapes? It's really only this thing that occurs with it that is both number and definiteness, potentially, and
Yes,
potentially also case.
yes. However, I would like to suggest that perhaps stick would co-occur with a partitive.
And so the noun at that point would be in the partitive. Stick
Yeah.
would be the head word.
Yes.
And the head word of stick would then take any other case or whatever else is going on.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
I have a different idea.
Okay.
Because I was thinking, well, stick makes sense, but like, there's also something else that makes sense. And grass is actually a great example. What if there was like, grass, stick. So like, and this thing is in the partitive, so it's like, this would essentially mean of the grass, a stick. Let's put these in angle brackets so we know what we're talking about. Of the grass, a stick. Might also have grass, mouth. Of the grass, a mouthful. So something like that, and maybe we can come up with a different noun for it. But this is like a little bit like classifiers, but also basically it's saying that we have grass, and this is just grass, however much of it. But this is further specified, and it's saying this is individuating it, and this is essentially a smaller amount of the mass.
And we used mouthful in Ingala.
Yes, we did. Now, we use that for plurality. In this case, it would be for singularity. And I want to defy both.
Is it singularity or paucality? Because isn't it more like a mouthful of it is like...
It's non-plurality.
Okay.
Or non-massness, non-collectivity. What I want to suggest is that we do something that's a little like classifiers, but not classifiers. And also a little like plurality, but not that. So that these things are not directly tied to lexemes. You can use any with any. And then it's just whatever interpretation there is.
So you could use a mouthful with unexpected things to indicate a certain grouping?
Well, it's like the way that classifiers work is that you only use one classifier with a noun ever, unless your relationship to that noun changes. So like, this classifier is only ever used with long things. This classifier is only ever used with flat things and things like that. And it's like you can use different ones. Like, for example, like take map, for example. You might use the stick classifier with map if you're talking about a map that's been rolled up. On the other hand, if you're talking about a map that's flat on the table, then you might use the flat classifier. And it's like, okay, that is a special circumstance. What we're saying is that we're just going to use those for everything. So, and the interpretation would be a little bit like singular versus paucal in High Valyrian. So it's like, this is one of whatever it is, individuable. This is some of whatever it is, non-individuable, but smaller. And this is just whatever.
Both plural and undefined.
Yes.
Well, Bubba's late. Bubba Bear is. We weren't late.
Oh, yeah. You didn't miss anything, Bubba Bear. Just an hour and 45 minutes of streaming.
A full hour and 45 minutes.
Exactly as one would expect.
No delay.
Yeah.
That's amazing, Jake.
By the way, you have no idea how that feels like as a teacher. Or maybe
Also,
you do.
I do, yeah.
I do.
But then also, I won't say whether it was undergrad or grad school, but at one of my universities, there was also a professor who would regularly show up late with a Starbucks in hand. And it's like, you're late and you stopped to get a coffee. Like, that felt a little.
Also, though, like, especially when that person like starts raising their hand and say, like, wait, what does that mean? When it's like all stuff that you explained while they were gone.
Yes, that is also good.
All right. So that was my suggestion based on what we have here. Mm-hmm. What do you think?
Oh, I'm good. That I am absolutely good with it. It was just more of me understanding. Sorry, Jake had a lecturer show up 15 minutes late with a Coke and a plate of cake. No apologies. That's amazing. So Miles is playing a bit of devil's advocate, but I think what would happen, Miles, would be that the mouthful would get so semantically bleached at this stage in the language that essentially frog by itself means however many frogs in the world you want to be talking about. Mm-hmm. It's just the unidentified amount. Frog stick would mean one and exactly one frog. Mm-hmm. And then frog mouth would end up being interpreted as a handful of frogs, right? Like the way we use it in English, a handful. Like, yeah, you can say a handful of frogs, but how often do you actually have a handful of frogs? And what does that actually mean in terms of actual amount? Because I tell you what, bullfrogs, handful of frog there is like you may only have a leg in your hand. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So an easy way to do this is when you're creating these things to make them semantically bleached enough. Not semantically bleached enough. I mean, phonologically bleached enough that there's no connection. So, like, you know, you could imagine something that like started off as, I don't remember what our protophonology is, but if we have a G, I want to see, do we have a G?
Oh, sorry, I was
We
reading.
do. We have a G.
I was trying to read chat, and it got very frongy.
For example, if Haga became like something like Haga, and then that became Haga became like Aha became right? So it's like, let's say that, you know, the article is now the protoform is Haga, and then like if you run it through the regular sound changes, then the protoform Haga is now Haga and means stick. Then it's like, there's no connection there, you know?
Yeah.
Like, they're not going to be able to recognize that. And so they're not going to be thinking like a stick of frog, you know? So we'll just have to make sure that we do that. And
say sometimes the connection can stay quite phonologically clear, and yet speakers don't even think
One
about
more.
it semantically. And I think handful is a really good example, because handful literally still looks and sounds exactly like handful. And so, we know as English speakers what that actually means, and yet we can walk into a room and say there were a handful of people. Like, and what does handful of people mean? And so it's semantically bleached, whereas its form is still there. So doing anything where you reduce its form, where it's no longer opaque in terms of its phonological form, at that point, then it can go wild with, like, it's just absolutely going to be interpreted differently.
All right. So
and Jake, yes, I do believe that you can get frogs on sticks. But that is not how our beavers are going to think about it.
I think
I have a sudden urge to use this lid as a frisbee.
just like our LangTime icon, frisbee icon.
Do we have a frisbee?
Yeah, we should have added it here. Yeah, the red
Oh,
one.
the red tomato.
Okay, so I propose noun, partitive, adjective, noun, partitive, article, noun, partitive, adjective, partitive, article.
There we go. I put the frisbee up above as a bullet point.
Yeah.
Like so. There we go. Enter that down. Now let's make sure we can still see what you typed.
Yeah, and let's just
A frongby, exactly.
all right. So this is not adjectival concord. This is essentially the nominal equivalent of a verbal coverb. I forget what the name is, but essentially it's like, this is just something that you throw on the verb to say, ignore this, the tense is coming. That's essentially what our little partitive is becoming. And saying, ignore this, the head is coming.
So we're going to frisbee that partitive onto anything that's not the article.
Yeah, if I can show this in terms of Copico. Here's the noun, right? And then, uh-oh, here comes the adjective. Uh-oh, here comes the article.
And it just gets... Okay.
A partitive is a difficult thing to define because it is used differently in different languages. Lots of cases are, but like, for example, a dative, it's much more likely it's like, okay, you give that to the indirect object, and sometimes it's used as a goal, all right? The partitive, however, is very different. It's something that stands on the edge of being derivation and inflection. It depends on which language it's used in. But a partitive can be used to denote part associations. So like a leg of the table would be partitive. However, the book of the boy would be genitive. The book is not a part of the boy owns the book. Mm-hmm. The table, on the other hand, the leg is an integral part of the table. And so for some languages that have a distinction between like a genitive and a partitive, they will use the two different cases to denote this difference. However, the partitive ends up getting used in very surprising ways. For example, both objects and subjects in Finnish can occur in the partitive. And then sometimes objects will appear in the nominative if they're nouns, but if they're adjectives, they will appear in the partitive. And it's very bizarre. In this case, we're going to use it with its intended, the reason we're giving it this name is because of its intended original function as denoting something being a crucial part of something else. Hence, a stick we're stuck on frogs, but like, if you go with grass, right? A stick of the grass, it's like stick is standing in for blade, and you're talking about a part of the mass, which is grass, a specific part, an individuable part. That's why we're calling it partitive. It's then been extended to, use, in other ways. Oblique has no definition at all. If something is called an oblique case in any language that you're looking it up, it means that the describer of that language has given up. And Indeed. They just don't know at all what to do. And they say, this is called the oblique case. It's used however I say it is, because that's what it means. Anyway.
And at some point, we're going to call this the oblique case.
Sure. Why not?
Have it done. Okay, so David.
Yeah.
You mapped out noun partitive adjective, noun partitive article, mm-hmm. and so on. Does this mean you're leaning towards that noun followed by stick, or that article, particle, whatever you want to call it? Are you leaning into that?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of this
word order, which in this case, the stick or the mouth or the article itself is the head, and so this mm-hmm. would be a head final phrasing.
Mm-hmm.
Are you thinking then head final in general, or were you just thinking about it like in terms of, because we could still have, mixed headedness and have, SVO or VSO with head final, noun phrase structures for the way that they historically evolved. What were you thinking though, head final in general for the language, like SOV in general? Or?
Sadly, I am.
Why is that sad? Why is that sad to you?
I don't know.
Okay. Or were you thinking SOV proto, and then are we going to do something fancy and end up with SVO or something and, do some different things? A fribby. Did you just do that? Or was that the whole time there as fribby?
Yes, that was the whole time there, I guess.
I am fascinated that I did not notice that, even though I saw the frongby as a frong frisbee. Frong fribby, I guess. Wow. Okay. Kind of like now, emphasis, Logan.
Now, what Logan says actually makes a lot more sense, where oblique case doesn't refer to a specific case, but a category of case. Mm-hmm. In other words, like nominative and accusative, sometimes dative and genitive, are core cases. Other cases are oblique cases. Usually you use that if it's a mixture of locative cases and non-locative. Oblique cases like comitative,
It's yeah, because it's also a way to distinguish again category wise, like Logan is saying. It's a way when you're looking at clause structure, the core elements may tend to occur in certain positions, and then other things which still get case markings are more likely to occur in other positions, and so that could be like an oblique position. Where anything that's not one of the core arguments could appear in it. And so, yeah, that does make a lot of sense to talk about it in that way. But yeah, if someone just says it's the oblique case, then it's, yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we have two potential articles, stick and mouth. And
Although I think I have used it to refer to cases that are like, it'll just mark anything that's not a core argument. So it's a non-core case.
yeah.
But anyway, go on. So in other words, I have given up before, and I own that. Because what do you call it after a while if it gets used in dative and locative and instrumental and anything that's not core?
Yeah. And I'm kind of lost about what to do for a poll because we've decided too much. We should probably write down.
Yeah, we really should. SOV.
Let's.
Here it is. Ooh, you just moved it. There we go. My cursors. Ooh, look at my little profile picture showing up.
Yeah. Is a head file. Is a minimally fusional head final language. It features noun adjective, probably noun genitive. Well,
And so here,
okay. Hold on. Help me. The rabbit, the daughter of. What order is that?
just a second. I'm gonna actually type that right here. Would this mean the rabbit's daughter or the daughter's rabbit?
No, the rabbit's daughter. The rabbit, the daughter of. What is that?
Noun genitive, right? Because this is the genitive. No?
No, it's genitive noun.
Genitive noun, because it's the rabbit's daughter.
Oh, excuse me. I said that wrong. I'm sorry. Of the rabbit, the daughter.
That's okay. That's why I was
I'm
like,
sorry.
I am struggling with calling the rabbit the genitive there, but this, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, genitive noun.
We're gonna say postpositions. They're probably gonna be verbs, and then noun determiner. Yeah, with SOV word order. It shall be the headiest, finalist language we have. Hold on. Lang we have ever timed. There. Okay.
We made it. Okay, so now
Yeah.
I don't want, because one thing that, thinking patron poll, we do need forms for stick and mouth, but I honestly want that to be a full together decision, because it's going to show up a lot. And so and that's also, well, I guess we could get protoforms and they could be reduced.
Yeah.
Very much. So we could get protoforms for stick and mouth if.
Delete this.
Yeah, so we don't get confused.
Yeah. And then let's grass.
And then we do have
Grass.
protoforms for grass, frog, and beaver.
Yeah. There we go. What's wrong?
Oh, I was just reading. I was just making sure I could understand everything.
Yeah, a twelfth of grass. Thank you, John.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, I just called Jonathan John. Very sorry.
Yeah, I don't know that I've ever heard Jonathan being referred to by a shortened name. I don't know how the E functions in Persian, so I can't. Other people may be able to answer that very quickly for you right now. Okay, so I mean, other than forms, I'm running low on ideas for what could be voted on this week. We could look forward and start thinking about, because you had mentioned that case marking could be something. We could start thinking about how we want those cases to be.
One potential thing we could do is if these articles are going to be clitics and mostly invariant, or if they're going to be separated and maybe you're going to fuse with postpositions.
Oh.
I know that might be a difficult thing to decide without seeing forms, but there's just too many variables there. So
Right.
it's really a top-level decision, but yeah. Something we can do.
I think that makes sense.
Okay, we'll do that.
Mateus is asking if what Miles is referring to is the construct state or the reverse genitive. Something that, by the way, I learned from David. I had never heard of the construct case.
Yeah.
And that is indeed what it is. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. But no, I like that. So deciding how much of this ends up getting glommed and still recognizable versus glommed and really glommed.
Yeah.
My words just absolutely failed me right now, and so like that's the best I could do.
Yeah.
But I think that's largely what the decision will be for the patron poll, and that makes sense. Fronglomed, exactly. Is how fronglomed is it? A state of fronglamation. Excellent.
All right. So at this point, we're 8 minutes over time, but of course we started super late.
So we're 22 minutes under time, I think.
Yeah.
But in the grand scheme of life, I think we kind of have to go pretty soon, if not now, because pickups have to happen.
Yeah.
And by pickups, I mean a single pickup of a single child has to happen. And so.
Very sorry.
So we will have to go. Thank you, Jake. We are so grateful that you accept the scraps with which we feed you all.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you for sticking around with us. Thank you for waiting here, everyone who is still here. It's amazing that you all are so patient with us. And
It really
so thank
is.
you.
We don't deserve you.
You're all amazing. And next week we will unfortunately need to not have a stream because we'll be hosting all the people. Much love to you all too. But then after that, we will be back to a normal schedule for at least a few weeks until we travel again. And so it may get dicey coming up this spring. But yes, happy Lunar New Year to everyone, and much love to you all. And we will see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye, everybody.